occupied national capital. You're in the war room. It's Wednesday, the 27th of January, the year of our Lord 2021. Now the podcast was significantly north of 30 million downloads. We're also live throughout the nation on the John Fredericks Radio Network on Real America's Voice. That's oldamericasvoice.news. A streaming service. They're up on the Bird, on the Dish, channel 219 in Comcast cable and many other cable operations. Roku, Pluto, Rumble, Telegram, every different distribution medium possible out there. I want you to go to warroom.org. That's one word, warroom.org/join. You can get our show notes, our newsletters. Everything's free. Join that. You can also go to Telegram, which is Bannon War Room, Rumble, Bannon War Room, Real America's Voice on the app. Anywhere. Join up. Get part of the chat. I think Telegram's got live chat. The Real America's Voice has got live chat. We want you in the chat. Want you in hashtag War Room Pandemic. We're building a community. As Terry Schilling said today, it is known around D.C. this is the most powerful audience in the world. If you want to get your word out, if you want people to sign up, if you want people to do things, the reason is we have people that are active. They want action, action, action. And there's a lot of action going on today. We want to start no cold open because we don't have the time. We got Navarro, we got Posobiec, we got Boris. We're talking about Wall Street, big populist revolt on Wall Street taking on the institutions. Also, the 1776 Commission was called a bunch of lies by Joe Biden yesterday. Signed an executive order, got rid of it. We had, on the last day of operation, Carol Swain from Vanderbilt University. Dr. Carol Swain will be here. She was the vice chairman of the 1776 Commission. She'll join us later in the show. I want to start with Dr. Peter Navarro. There's a lot going on, and we want to get to Jack Posobiec actually took you up on it when you had this chilling. And for people who are throughout the country, and particularly people on the podcast or radio can't see our TV broadcast or live stream broadcast, something very chilling has happened in Washington, D.C. It was like the green zone in Baghdad over the inauguration. Very eerie. Combat troops everywhere. National Guard, up-armored. Nancy Pelosi wanted actually personnel-loaded machine guns, which were not approved, but everybody was armed. 25 to 27,000 troops. That's now down, I think, drawn down to 7,000. Tom Cotton has asked for an official investigation. He wants a briefing to say, what is the threat level that we have the razor wire everywhere, we have troops everywhere, and there's still a quasi-green zone. Jack Posobiec was so motivated and inspired by Dr. Peter Navarro yesterday that he went out today and actually filmed the razor wire so people can see it. You can't understand what's going on in the country until you understand. There it is right there. That is your nation's capital. Senator Tom Cotton has asked for a full report, and we keep talking to the people in the state of Florida and Texas, which sent troops up, sent National Guard. They have to be demanding, what is the threat level? That, ladies and gentlemen, on TV is what Washington, D.C. Jack,
it's hard to
our radio audience, explain it.
So it's actually hard to tell from that footage because the wire is so large and the cage is so dense, but that's actually just across the street. Oh, this shot you can actually see the U.S. Capitol spire above the dome, but directly across it's razor wire, it's 7-8 foot high fencing that obviously can't be scaled, and on the other side of that, armed U.S. National Guard soldiers that do have their M4s, their M16s out. You got Humvees that are all along here, stationed along the route. You've got guys out in the cold patrolling on presence operations, foot patrols. You can see foot patrols marching around on the inside of the occupied area. It's a complete occupation of the U.S. Capitol. All of the offices of the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House are inside this green zone, and to be able to get around it, you have to go all the way around the Capitol. You can't use any of those streets that would cut through anymore. So, to be able to just get around this thing, it's incredibly cumbersome. Yet when you go to DHS, who put out a bulletin today talking about this new advisory, DHS bulletin advisory through their advisory system, it stated that they're going to extend the period of advisory to beyond the impeachment trial, but there are no specific credible threats still.
Politico's reporting, and the National Guard deployments extended through the end of March. Our Evercrack production staff, led by Cameron Wallace, is telling us the memo says that troops are ordered to stay on duty at least through the end of March. somebody, I think Cotton's right. We need to see, this is what we've been begging for. What is, besides IC chatter, what is the threat? And this thing from DHS leads to, it's these domestic terrorists. I want to turn now to Dr. Peter Navarro. Dr. Navarro, you were banned today on Twitter. And, this gets to the point of they're trying to deplatform everybody that's got a dissenting voice. You're, if not the leading voice in the United States, one of the leading voices in the world for economic nationalism, for economic populism. What did you say to get banned on Twitter?
See, you're burying the lead here because this is a day of history in censorship in America because I didn't say anything. I hadn't tweeted since January 14th, and nothing I tweeted then was offensive in any way. So it's a day of history because this is the first time Twitter has banned the person just because of who I am, not because of what I said. Now, let me say this. I want to say this right to Jack Dorsey right now. You've done violence, not just to the First Amendment, but you've done violence to me. Imagine, for example, if I were out in front of the Capitol with a simple sign peacefully protesting, and you walked up to me and you ripped that from my hand. That, sir, would be violence, and that's what you did today to me and to this country by banning my account for nothing I said, nothing I did, just because of who I am. Shame on you, sir. And this is Kafkaesque, and it comes at the same time where the Department of Homeland Security is raising this threat level about so-called domestic terrorists. And, it's like the next thing I know, I'm going to be a domestic terrorist person designated simply because I'm exercising free speech about democracy in America. They're coming to get you. They're coming to get all of us right now. This is not America. This is communist China and Twitter in this marriage going on here. And Steve, day of history. Day of history.
Well, go ahead. Well, Dr. Navarro, I am taking a look at this, your account right here. I do note that it actually says it's a temporary restriction on Twitter. So I do think, hopefully, that if they come to their senses, we should be able to get you back up and get you going.
Here's the game.
Jack, hang on, Steve. I do not want to hear that temporary.
Yeah.
They shut it down. It's like I don't know if and when I'm coming back to that. I don't really care.
They put you on
What
timeout.
matters to me today is that there was no reason for what they did other than the person.
Oh, there's a reason.
This is what's different.
It says unusual. Listen to this. You're seeing this warning because there has been unusual activity from this account.
Yeah.
But see, that's focus too, because I haven't done it, tweeted on that thing for 2 weeks. So what kind of activity could be there if there's no?
I'm about to explain it to you. Okay, you take your number 2 pencil out and write this down. Here's what they're doing. You can tell. I tell you what they're doing. No, I tell you what they're doing. The same thing. They took the war room. They took the war room down because they said we were talking about election. Well, they took the war room down because we were posting on the war room the receipts from the hard drive from hell, Hunter Biden's hard drive. We were putting up on a second tranche. We were putting up the wire transfers, the signed engagement letters. All Hunter Biden, who's walking around as the advisor to the president now on China, wandering around the West Wing. He's stopping for bagels. He's telling the president, don't push back on Taiwan. They're trying to bait you. Here's why they're doing it, Dr. Navarro. That it's the Navarro reports. What happened yesterday? He swore in the Senate for the trial and took a 2-week hiatus. What they cannot have happen, because right now I think they feel they got President Trump trapped because he's going to be arguing this esoteric argument about the Constitution. They do not want him to bring the receipts to the Senate floor about the voter fraud. They're going to try to connect dots. They're going to say, hey, not only did you rile people up on January 6th with your speech, they're going to go back years and said every time he said throw a guy of a rally, he was inciting violence. They're also going to go back to November 4th and say, hey, your whole working through with Rudy and these other people, the voter fraud, the election fraud, riled people up. What they don't want and they can't have, and this is why you've been suspended from Twitter and shut down from Twitter, they cannot have you as a force that you are, continue to put out links to the Navarro reports, because the Navarro reports has the 3-volume, has the Immaculate Deception, the Art of the Steal, and Trump won receipts and evidence. That is what they do not want in this interregnum, in this kind of period in the run-up to the trial. Under no circumstances do they want the American public to see Peter Navarro on TV or to see him somewhere, and he talks about Twitter, and they go to Twitter, and he's got a direct link to Navarro reports. You're taking down. This is the hypocrisy.
Let me say this, Steve. You make exactly the point I think that's important for your audience. This was a preemptive strike on free speech, a preemptive strike. That's why it's history. They know. I guess I'm a dangerous individual here because I will speak the truth based on fact and statistics, and they are apparently afraid of that. But again, I get to this analogy. I mean, think about this, Steve. Let's suppose we were in the public square instead of the digital square, and I was standing there, and I had a placard that say "Democracy Lives," right? And Jack Dorsey walks up to me and rips that out of my hand. What do you think would happen next? He is inciting violence when he's doing this kind of thing. He is making this entire country angry at him and Twitter. And the 74 million people who voted for Donald J. Trump are getting more and more outraged at this kind of social media censorship. So I would say, Mr. Dorsey, tread lightly, sir.
But let me jump in here, Priscilla.
Well,
go ahead.
But I just want to say that to double down on, that's why at the beginning of this show, and Steve, you do such a great job of this when you finish with a guest, that's why when you hear us say, hey, this is where to find us, this is where to get access, you're starting to hear different words, right?
Yes.
You're not just hearing Twitter and Instagram anymore. You're hearing Rumble. You're hearing Telegram. Look, we are the opposition. We are the real opposition,
yes.
And we have to come together with these networks. It ain't going to be Twitter. It ain't going to be Instagram and Facebook anymore.
Okay, this is the reason.
One other thing, Steve, here. Just one other thing. And let's not forget how they killed Parler, okay? It wasn't just the deplatforming that they did with where you couldn't download the app from Google. It was Amazon coming in with the kill shot by taking them out of the cloud on their servers. And that was the most brutal killing of a business I've ever witnessed before. Far worse than any kind of predatory pricing scheme.
You actually called that the weekend.
But
you predicted the weekend before it happened. They said, hey, your worry is Parler and what they're going to do. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. Why is Navarro so hated by the establishment? Because he's an apostate. Right, he went to Harvard. He's got his Ph.D. and now he's working for the opposition. That's why they hate him, and that's why they're pulling him down. But Peter, you're sitting in front. Your backgrounds are legendary already. You're sitting in front of the flag of the Chinese Communist Party, and we're going to return and talk about how Joe Biden just signed an executive order that outlaws Peter Navarro from mocking and ridiculing the Chinese Communist Party, particularly in their participation in the Wuhan, you can't make this stuff up, in the Wuhan virus, the Biden administration, the gift that keeps on giving. We're going to return in a moment.